feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shrimp Tank, coming to you virtually from Seattle, the PNW, and again today, the Great White, or maybe the Great Warm North. We'll have to talk to Phil about that. Listen, if you want to learn how to start, grow, or run a successful business, this right here is the podcast for you, the podcast of record. It is where street smarts and book smarts collide. Hello again, I'm Dan Whedon, and my co-host today is Phil Simchich. Welcome, Phil. Our guest today, we're very excited. It took a while, but we're excited to have Amy Maddox on. Amy is the co-founder of Mad Ritual, based out of Seattle. She was a great referral to us from former guest China Willman. Mad Ritual is a company that produces, in her words, and I agree, kick-ass CBD products to help people feel better by seeking nature's most powerful healing ingredients. Welcome, Amy. We will be with you in just a moment. Everybody, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. That's iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, YouTube. Everybody, you know it by now. We are ubiquitous. Shrimp Tank Podcast does come to you from about a dozen cities, not just Seattle. We're in Atlanta, Boston, Boca Raton, Charleston, South Carolina, all over the place. Now, before we bring on Amy to get to learn more about her and Mad Ritual, hello there, Phil.
Hello, Dan. How are you?
I am recovering. I'm recovering from a run this morning. As you well know, I work in the recovery business. Mine is more around risk planning and risk leadership and having operations and everything recovered after a crisis. But I do know that recovery, whether it's after a run, whether it's after lifting weights, whether it's after golf, which I'm going to be doing again on Friday, we all should be very cognizant of how we recover, because quite frankly, if we're all working in a business, we need to be able to be at the top of our game. And so I mentioned I use chiropractic, I use cryotherapy with China, and I use a whole bunch of different things to try to get my body to recover. You're a top-notch consultant, Phil. How do you recover with your own body? What do you do?
Well, in our regular workout competitions, as you know, I'm a big fan of the foam roller. So that gets a regular before and after workout. And then I'm also a fan of chiropractic and acupuncture.
You have to be, Phil, you have to be a fan of chiropractic, don't you? Tell everybody why.
Well, my wife is a fantastic chiropractor, and she and her business partner, Dr. Mike Mullenhauer, just opened a brand new clinic at crownchiro.ca. So thanks for letting me have that plug. But yeah, she's awesome. And it's really about keeping things in line and promoting the body's ability for natural healing, and then making sure we take rests in between. Because I think most professional athletes are playing injured, and every athlete I've ever met, including all of us amateur athletes, would benefit from more rest and better recovery.
Yeah, and before we bring Amy on, I heighten or highlight the fact that all business leaders, for us to be able to run our businesses, work with employees, work with our supply chain, all of that, we need to be producing at the highest level, and recovery in all forms and fashions, both mental and physical, is incredibly important, isn't it?
Oh, you bet. And what I find, and I had a coaching client this morning, most entrepreneurs and business leaders, and the bigger the business gets, usually the more they're running, is they don't have the time, or they don't take the time to sit and rest and breathe and figure out what just happened and what went well and what didn't, and do we need to change a system or even create a system. And especially for small businesses that are literally flying by the seat of their pants or chasing cash flow. And like, you don't show up at the gym with a trainer. The trainer always has a plan, including recovery and alternating workouts. And business owners need to do that too. They need to focus on what they're good at to grow, and then they need to focus on taking care of employees and taking care of customers, but keep shifting and keep that balance. And because when you don't have muscle balance, you end up with injuries, and when you don't have business balance, you end up in receivership.
Oh, and that's no good. But you know what? I forgot one. I can you see my little tin here? It says Mad Ritual. I am a subscriber to Mad Ritual. My favorite here is the green one, which I think probably in October kind of matches a little Frankenstein thing going on. Eucalyptus and peppermint. This happens to be my favorite. Amy, Amy Maddox, welcome. You probably until now didn't know that my favorite was the eucalyptus and peppermint. Welcome to the show. I want to bring you on with this question. You're in the recovery business. You really
I
are.
am.
Talk a little bit about your business, how you got started, how you founded Mad Ritual, and talk about your fantastic CBD products.
Well, thank you. Hi, Dan and Phil. I'm so excited to be here on the Shrimp Tank today. I think this is a perfect show because everybody always asks me, when are you going on Shark Tank? And I refuse to. So I'm going on Shrimp Tank. Yeah, I did not know that your favorite product was eucalyptus and peppermint, but I'm not surprised. It's definitely our top selling CBD balm. It was the eucalyptus and peppermint was the blend that we came out with and we launched our product with. So it's kind of the OG of the Mad Ritual lineup. And my experience with CBD and the reason that I wanted to work in this business and also create a product that is really natural and healing for a lot of different ailments is because I experienced migraine at home. And this is something that I've battled before. I've had the precursor of like losing my peripheral vision. I've had the precursor of a migraine kind of getting sick. So I always know when they're about to come on. And one day I just thought, you know what, I'm going to try this cream that I got at the pot shop. I doubt that it does anything. And I put it all over my face. I put it into my hair, all over my neck. And within 10 to 15 minutes, I could not believe I was able to like see straight again. I felt fine. And I think I ended up working for the rest of the day, which is really unheard of when you know what a migraine is. It really puts you on your butt. So, that personal experience was really eye-opening to me. And that was kind of the beginning of looking at cannabis as a whole, whether it's CBD, THC infused products, as a recovery product and something that I could use in a wellness form.
So that's really interesting because when you look at the history of medicine, traditional Chinese medicine is what, thousands and thousands of years old. Western medicine barely 200 years old and dominated by big pharma. So you're really going back to nature's way, which people have done for centuries and millennia of taking care of themselves. So how can athletes use your product?
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely based on ancient practices. A lot of questions that we get about this balm specifically is what's so great about it. And the products that it's made with are oil and butter based. So it's a great product for self-massage. And I think athletes, anybody who's physically using your body all day, even if that's, lifting boxes in a warehouse or sitting at your desk on a computer, your body is taking all of that stress on. So the other component of Mad Ritual is something that you could do anytime, anywhere with any product. And that's just giving yourself some love with self-massage and touching yourself.
So let's talk, Amy, about it's probably not the 800-pound gorilla in the room, but probably one of the biggest obstacles you might have faced in this. CBD by itself, people start thinking, oh, that's pot, that's marijuana, that's legal or it's illegal, or I don't want it, that's a drug thing, and all of a sudden, all of these wild perceptions come up about, let's just stick with CBD. And it really couldn't be further from the truth. Talk a little bit about what you may have had, and maybe you haven't, but you may have had to overcome just from a perception standpoint about CBD and the valuable benefits it has.
We launched Mad Ritual in April of 2018, and that was at the beginning of CBD's big trend and coming on the consumer goods scene. So I've kind of gotten to experience the whole skeptic spectrum, if you will, from setting up at the end of 5Ks at the finish line. At that time, at 2018, everyone wanted to know about, will this make me high? What does it do? Is it weed? We were always answering questions like that. And I've been back to those same races and the same locations with the same community. And I don't get those questions anymore. I think that the general consumers are pretty up to date with the safety of cannabis and hemp. And we've done a really good job as product leaders and brand leaders to try to really educate consumers on what is right and what is not. So yeah, like answering those questions about, will this make me high? Thankfully, we are only topicals. You can also ingest CBD, which is a whole other ball game with the science when it comes to CBD, but topically applying CBD will not hurt you. It's not going to make you feel high or psychoactive or anything like that. It would be like the equivalent of rubbing some vodka or tequila on your hand and then claiming that you're drunk. It just doesn't work like that. And it's very safe.
So you started in April of 2018. What are some of the lessons you've learned, probably the hard way, in terms of starting up, competing with big box, and really getting your marketing strategy right? So there's probably 3 questions in there, but divide and conquer and take on whatever you want.
Yeah. My number one goal at the end of the day is to be the best CBD topical. So I see myself competing a little bit differently in the space of CBD. I'm really interested in going after the consumer who has experience using Bengay. And maybe like me, you have very sensitive skin. I can't even use Bengay because it's physically burning me. So I have to wash it off. That's my customer. So, learning who your customer is in CBD is really important. There are brands that are going after beauty and fashion, and I really want to be the person that can provide natural pain relief from a topical. So that's been really important. I did not realize that having the best product isn't always what people care about. Getting your product that you think is number one on shelf at the places where most people go to shop is really difficult. So communicating why you're the best, getting people behind you, word of mouth recommendation is huge for us because it's undeniable. If Dan recommends it to you, Phil, you're probably going to try it because you saw through his own experience it really worked for him. So I think that marketing is a little bit different and pretty important when you're working in CBD, just to be delivering the right messages all of the time. And I would say the other thing that I was really shocked is that it's hard to take money when you work with CBD. Anytime that you're making transactions or you're working with banks, that's they're not really up to game with everything that the consumers want available to them all of the time. So sometimes like getting paid is hard or expensive. I didn't really foresee that.
Yeah, you talk about the difficulty in getting paid. We order a CBD oil for our dog for her anxiety, but we can't mention anything in the payment stream that's related to CBD, and we actually have to send them an e-transfer, so they can't even get a credit card.
Are you in Canada?
Yes, in Canada.
Yeah, see, I can't ship to you, unfortunately.
Oh, well.
Well, Phil,
we'll figure something out.
Phil, I'll tell you what, we'll meet at the border. I'll throw it. I've got a pretty good arm. I'll get a bunch of them. I'll throw them over the top and you can have a big net and catch them all. We can make that work out. You were just talking about marketing, Amy, and it kind of dawned on me while you were talking that while I'm guessing you probably have several different types of buyers, 2 popped in my head. Number one is, and Phil and I do compete kind of physically on fitness and such. You probably have the people who are very active, whether they're golfers, whether they're climbers, whether they're runners, swimmers, whatever. People who are very active and will get sore muscles or will need that on a regular basis to recover. And then on the other end, I can just imagine people who have chronic issues. And I know that as my parents were aging in that time of life, those things happen sometimes. You probably have people who just literally have chronic pain. I'm assuming those are two types of people. Who else might you serve? And I actually would like you to maybe address the chronic versus, and I don't know what else to say, just kind of the active, but the chronic need as well.
Yeah, I would say that we started out maybe more focused on the athlete because that's the obvious one, but everybody is sore all of the time. Like anybody you talk to, whether you're driving in your car, that seatbelt really gives you horrible posture, sitting at a desk all day. I mean, I keep mine near the computer because my forearm cramps up, that I'm just clicking my mouse so much during normal active hours. So, daily maintenance, I think, is the thing that you don't think about too much. If you do, it's usually because you have a headache. And what do we usually do? We resort to taking ibuprofen. And a lot of the times, sometimes you do need an ibuprofen. And if you're always relying on that, you probably need something else that's a little bit more natural. So that's where we come in. You mentioned chronic pain. This is something that so many people live with, especially, we've got a lot of women in our community that are diagnosed with endometriosis. And so once a month, you've got painful cramps that are literally like putting you on your butt and you're off. So it's pretty awesome that you can just grab something, apply it directly to where your body is really needing it and hurting at that moment. So then you can move on and get on with your day. Another customer group that we've done really well with are the vegans, because we do not use that beeswax in our product. We use the plant wax. So that was one thing we were really mindful of, is a lot of the CBD topicals do contain beeswax, and we wanted to set ourselves apart and offer this really good product to everyone. Something I've kind of been working with a little bit is we're a product for anybody with a body. So anybody can use our product and anybody can benefit from it.
Very cool. By the way, you just gave me an idea as I'm showing. I know this is terrible radio, but as I'm showing my eucalyptus and peppermint, I brought this down from my bathroom. I think I'm going to leave it here while I'm sitting at my desk. I had never even thought about that. It's a great idea. What else is a good idea is we got to take our first break to pay the bills, so to speak. And when we do take that short break to hear from today's spotlight sponsor, we come back with our guest, Amy Maddox, for a Hot or Not section of the show. We're going to find out, she's not going to have a clue what I mean by this, but if CBD is good for Lola, you'll find out more yourself when you come back. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank.
Would you like to grow your business, increase revenues, and raise profits? Would more financing from your banker help you grow? Who is building your succession plan? Would you like more control over your business so you can sleep better at night? SME Business Wealth Builder works with business leaders and owners like you to help them grow their business and build their business wealth. For more information and to check out free resources, go to SMEwealthbuilder.com.
All right, welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, where we interview the best and brightest CEOs and business thought leaders in the greater Puget Sound area and beyond. I'm Phil Simchich, and our guest today is Amy Maddox with Mad Ritual for our next segment, Hot or Not.
Okay, Amy, this is where Phil and I pepper you with some questions about business, about CBD, about life, about a whole bunch of things. You're going to tell us if it's the concept, the topic, the subject is hot or not, and why or why not. And at the end, I hate to tell you this, you win absolutely nothing, but we'll have some fun doing it. So, Phil mentioned his dog. Well, his dog's name is Lola. You guys all know Captain Jack and Bella, but Phil has Lola, and he mentioned CBD for her. So this might be a layup right off the bat, but hot or not, Amy, CBD for pets.
Ding, ding, ding. That's a hot. Sorry. Phil, I have to mention, I also have a Lola, and she loves our CBD. Obviously, we only make topicals, so I use it for a paw massage for her. This was really big last year when we rescued her and she joined our family. I used this as a bonding tool for her. After the first couple of nights, she realized what was going on and paws up, she was ready for it. So yes, I do suggest CBD for dogs. And we also use a brand called Austin and Cat that makes some really awesome treats made here locally. And we give those to our dogs. My older dog, who's about 13, she's got some arthritis issues. So that just keeps her kind of moving and grooving a little bit easier.
I was just motioning to Phil. I had a quick follow-up question on that. So you mentioned yours is a topical, and you mentioned it, the paw massage, which I hope neither of our dogs are listening because they'll want to get in line for that right away. But if you rub it on the paws, they probably are going to lick it. Is that a problem? How does that work?
Yeah, I would suggest keeping it away from them just to give them the idea that you don't want to lick it. They'll get the idea. But honestly, a lot of people tell me that their dogs love it. The ingredients in our products, they're super simple, all natural. It's olive oil, shea butter, coconut oil, plant wax, and CBD. So there's not really anything if they don't have an allergy to any of those individual ingredients. I would say they would be okay. And I would also suggest using the unscented Mad Ritual Balm instead of using either the lavender frankincense or eucalyptus and peppermint, because they do contain essential oils. So that might be one thing that you can just totally cut out and avoid.
Okay.
So you mentioned natural ingredients, organic ingredients versus non-organic, hot or not?
Oh, very hot. Our ingredients are organically grown. I actually have a really exciting thing coming in the coming months where we are going to be certified organic, which is huge if you know anything about that seal. So we've been working really hard to get that. We've always used organically grown ingredients, but this is going to be recognized by the United States federal government.
Nice. Okay, so I got the next hot or not. We talked about recovery and using it after working out, but my question is, hot or not, using a Mad Ritual recovery balm before your workout?
Oh, I would say if you need it, use it. You can apply liberally anytime, anywhere, especially, if you are lining up to go run a half marathon or the 10K that you've been training weeks for, and you know that your left knee is going to bother you mid-race, mitigate that by first putting on the balm.
So really quick before Phil goes to his, how often, so that brings up a point. So let's say I put it on first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock. Do I have to wait a certain amount of time? What is the kind of the best practices as far as how often you should use it?
You can apply as needed. You really can't use too much. But I would say, sorry.
That's all right.
My Lola's freaking out.
Your dogs will get our dogs
we're all
going.
dog friendly here, so we're all good.
Dan, ask me your question again.
That's okay. How often is there with the directions? Do I put it on? Do I have to wait 2 hours before the next one? How does that work?
No, it works so fast. I think one reason, because you're directly putting it on the muscle that's really bothering you. You're not ingesting something that is going to spread out through your whole system and have a delayed reaction. You're putting it on where it hurts. If it's something like a joint, I always have people coming up and they'll hold their finger out and they say, my finger always hurts like right here. And so obviously put some on there. Let's see what happens. And it works so fast. And then they'll, do the bendy thing and they'll say, oh my God, it really, really works. If you have a big glute muscle or a quad that you're trying to mitigate some pain for, that's a really big muscle. So it might take a little bit longer to really penetrate and get deep down in the muscle. But if you're coming in there with some added massage, your muscles are naturally going to respond to the massage and the touch.
So a little bit of a different tangent, but related, I hope. Aromatherapy. Do scents really impact our mood and brain? So is aromatherapy hot or not?
Aromatherapy is so hot. Yeah, I would say that they affect many things, including our mood, our environment. Even there are some studies linked to creativity. The space that you're in really impacts the way that your creativity is flowing. So, we like to use essential oils in our product. Not only does it differentiate it a little bit, but there are really added benefits to using essential oils. I always recommend the lavender is like my jam for the bedroom. I love using that as a face mask. I put it all over, including my chest. And so I start to breathe in the lavender essential oils as I'm reading my book. And it really just gets me and my brain. I've kind of trained my brain to be ready for bedtime. And so, yeah, I love that. And, the eucalyptus and peppermint, I think some added benefits there are peppermint is amazing for headaches and sinuses. So you can even use this as like a Vicks vapor rub. If you've got a chest issue, slather that all over. I've tried that with my husband before. And, my personal experience using it with migraines and headaches, I think it's wonderful.
Amy, talk a little bit about your business model. I am a subscriber, or Barb and I are subscribers, and we have regular shipments come. Do people do one-offs? Is it best to be a subscriber? Talk about how your business model is set up.
We are super small, but we are pretty much everywhere at this point. If you are in Washington State, you can buy us at Bartell's. They're our big retail partner here in Washington State. We also ship to all 50 states in the US. And then I work with a lot of small businesses as well. My favorite customers are chiropractors that are already providing a service for the exact same customer. Chiropractor's customer is looking for natural pain relief fast, and something that they can access pretty regularly. So I feel like those are just go hand in hand. So then, I've made myself available at float centers, wellness centers like China has all of the therapy services available at her wellness spa, also yoga studios, physical therapy offices, anywhere that anybody's looking to feel better, it's a great retail product.
So it sounds like you've got your partners really figured out and clicked in. How do you, or even do you bother compete with the big box stores?
I don't really bother anymore. There's no point. They've got so much money. And again, my number one goal is to be the best CBD topical. So I really try to stay focused there. What I've seen in, my past, and then also with Mad Ritual, a lot of the times what's available on shelf is dictated by the consumer anyways, or a really long lasting relationship that retailer has had with the buyer, the vendor, and, they're just kind of always on shelf at every store. So, I am just trying to play in my ball game for now. I'm trying to stand out with customer testimonies and word of mouth recommendation. I'm not really too concerned what anybody else is doing, although I definitely keep my eye on competitors. And it's pretty interesting because we've all, especially if you are a CBD brand that launched in 2018 around the same time, we've all kind of found, if you're still here, we've all found our own customer.
I've seen some documentaries and some different things on TV and written, or things that have been written regarding the effects of both THC and CBD and most of these have been about children who are struggling with a variety of different ailments. I can't even think of what the different ones are, but it just, with this natural thing, Phil mentioned, Chinese medicine going so far back. Are you finding that even with the topical that you have, that there's some ability to help some people who are really struggling with some of these different types of ailments?
Oh yeah, we actually have people like that to thank for the advancement of cannabis laws that we've got today. I think what you're referring to is a child named Charlotte. who was the inspiration behind the brand Charlotte's Web, and even the law, Charlotte's Law, who Charlotte suffered from epilepsy.
Yes,
And
yes, thank you. Yep.
yeah, her parents fought really hard to get her access to cannabis derivatives, derivative products that she could take that were safe for her. And I mean, again, like you can't deny that these types of products and cannabis as a whole helps people. Some things that I like to point out when I'm talking about cannabis and body is your body, my body, Phil's body. We're all designed to receive the benefits of CBD. We have receptors for parts of the cannabis plant everywhere in our body. And so it's just pretty wild that we have evidence of this actually being something that we should be accessing and consuming on a regular basis, because it helps with the homeostasis systems in the body. So yeah, I think that I know at least in Washington state, it was a big deal when the cannabis market went legal because of medical patients and what that would mean and how that would impact them. Luckily, we're kind of 5 or 6 games and 6 years into legal cannabis. And a lot of this is starting to get rolled out, especially as new states adopt these legal laws. So yeah, I mean, honestly, we have them to thank for all of this, and that I can even make this product.
So I'm going to take a stab at predicting your future, and Costco calls and says, Amy, can you supply us? So in the hot or not segment, scaling your business rapidly, hot or not?
Not, no. I mean, I kind of experienced this. Our first retail partner was a large chain called named Dillard's, and they are kind of like Macy's of the South. And in 2019, they went really big into CBD in their beauty department, which was so awesome to see. This was one of the first big national brands, and especially, Dillard's is usually synonymous with like prom dresses and getting Tom Ford cologne, definitely not CBD. So we were really excited to be invited to their CBD wellness program. That being said, that is 213 stores across the US. At that time, we were only available in Washington state. We really had built our community here. And so that was a big jump to start marketing and advertising and getting in front of people who were in Oklahoma, maybe, that is a Dillard shopper versus somebody here in Washington where we don't actually even have a Dillard's. So that was a really interesting experience. Obviously we're super excited to get a big national retail partnership, and that led to us getting Bartels and some other things. But that was a really hard experience where I went through it and was like, all right, well, maybe that wasn't the next obvious step for us. There was probably a couple of steps in between that we missed. But now I understand a lot more about planning and kind of maybe just being a little bit smaller. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being a small business. I'm not ready to blow up at this time anyways.
Well, speaking about blowing up, we got to blow up our second commercial break to hear from our sponsors, our corporate sponsors. And when we come back with Amy Maddox for our famous Plead the Fifth section of the show, it is getting close to Halloween, and I see Amy's background has some ghouls and ghosts and such like that. We're going to find out a little bit about fearful things. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank.
Plead the Fifth is brought to you by our corporate sponsors, Ideal Life 360, Cornerstone Financial, First Underwriters Insurance, and the Kitsap Sun newspaper. Please visit our website at www.shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle to learn more about these terrific companies. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, where we interview the best and brightest CEOs and business thought leaders in the greater Puget Sound area and beyond. I'm co-host Phil Simchich. Our guest today is Amy Maddox. And for our next segment, Plead the Fifth.
And on Plead the Fifth, Amy, we're going to turn up the heat a little bit. We're going to ask you maybe some tougher questions. You get to plead the fifth, but only once. So don't be afraid of that. I mentioned scary things. Amy, plead the fifth. When you started the business, were you scared? Were you fearful? And if so, how did you overcome that?
Oh, no, I wasn't scared. I had no idea what I was doing. I think if I would have thought about it a little bit more, I would have been scared. But no, I don't think that I was. No, I'm not driven by fear. I really try not to be. I would say that in the face of danger, I like to laugh.
Right.
So, how did, in addition to experience and hard knocks, what books or podcasts would you recommend for other business owners?
Podcast was like the one friend that I've always had to lean on in the startup world. But I stopped listening to business podcasts because of burnout. Podcasts are actually something that I exclusively listen to, like scandals and true crime and stories about history and stuff like that. So I don't want to give any bad, outdated recommendations of podcasts to listen to. However, there is so much good content available for free on the internet, on Spotify, that if you want to learn it, go and find it. And there was about 2 years where I exclusively listened to business podcasts all the time, whether I needed motivation, I needed to problem solve, I needed to listen to somebody. Oh, How I Built This. How I Built This was a huge one for me. I just like hearing the stories of what motivated people, the hardships that they went through, and the things that they learned. All of those. Oprah's masterclass is a really good one. You can learn really good stuff from maybe Jay-Z that you wouldn't expect as a CBD business owner.
So, Phil, we're going to make sure that next time she answers this question, she'll say, "Well, absolutely, the Shrimp Tank podcast," and we'll have her bolting back at least into this entrepreneur podcast. So, listen, that was a great answer, by the way. Plead the Fifth. When will cannabis be legal in all 50 states?
Oh, so soon.
So soon. You think
Yeah.
so?
Yeah. I wish I had my cannabis, the receipt from the cannabis shop to show you. I think in, 2020, cannabis shops were deemed essential. There were lines out of the shop wrapped around the door. There were hours were expanding to accommodate new customers that were looking for something to manage stress during the pandemic, and also a alcohol alternative. I think that the money that cannabis generates for the states is going to be too big to ignore. And it could really solve a lot of the problems that we're kind of facing. I mean, I've heard from a lot of people outside of CBD who work in cannabis that they can't believe that CBD and body care is what is leading the way. There is so much that can be done with the raw material, the byproducts, the extraction. I mean, it's a super dynamic plant that can make the US and countries all around the world lots of money.
What were some of the hurdles that you overcame? Because you're talking about how cannabis and CBD is a very young industry. So, and you mentioned explaining to runners at 5Ks that CBD isn't addictive and you're not going to get high and things like that. So what were some of the business hurdles you overcame?
There is a ton of regulations set up around cannabis. And, one thing to note is that all cannabis is hemp, not all hemp is cannabis. So, pot shop cannabis has CBD in it. Hemp has high CBD, super, super low THC amounts. So that's been a really interesting thing, waiting for legislation to update the definition of what CBD is. Was a big one, and they finally kind of ironed that out so that it would help with banking and things like that in 2019. The whole reason that cannabis and CBD is available to consumers, in states that are not legal, is because of the 2018 Hemp Act. So those programs are really starting to get an effect for other states, and you're going to start seeing some of the regulation not be as stringent. The biggest impact that we had was around payments and money and selling online. We shipped to all 50 states. So that was a really big challenge to find, payment processors that were CBD friendly. And, just so you know, like we're in the same category, high risk category as like porn. And we only sell body care. So there are still like tons of, hurdles like that we're just going with the flow on, and you just have to pay a premium.
I need to sneak in one quick question. I can't believe the time has flown by. One last question, because we've been asking every guest this year. Really quickly, I bet you still have some hobbies. If you were to start a business based on a hobby, what would that hobby be?
Start a business based on a hobby. Well,
Yeah.
I did that.
Did that?
I kind of did that.
What's another hobby? Give us a different one.
Oh, well, I did just start because I'm trying to do less work and more hobbies and have a little bit more balance in my life. I just started a pottery class. So that's pretty cool. Man, it would probably be something so boring where I would want to say it would be like really creative and I would be like making videos and all of that good stuff, but it would be something boring like a branding consultancy firm, I think.
Amy, thank you so much for being a guest here on the Shrimp Tank. For our listeners that want to get in touch with you and learn more about your company, how can they get more information?
Please follow us on social media. We have a really good Instagram account. We try to keep it really light and funny. I just made lots of really good memes. You can find us online at madvirtual.com. You can also order our products at our website and really anywhere on the internet. We're pretty young and modern, and we try to show up in a lot of different places. Whether you are young or you are old, we want to serve you. So if you can't find us, let us know how we can better serve you.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy. Everyone, make sure you check out all the replays on shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle and wherever you get your podcasts, such as iHeart, Apple, Google, or Spotify. Please follow us on our show's social media pages on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Well, Amy, thanks for being a guest. Phil, as always, thanks for being here. And yes, get on our Facebook page, because that's where we live stream live and where we show a whole bunch of other great things. We will be back. We do this every Wednesday at noon. We'll be back next Wednesday, October 13th at noon, where our guest will be Jeff Kelly from Asset Lab Marketing. My co-host that week will be James Alberson. We'll have a lot of fun with Jeff and learn a little bit more about doing some marketing. But in the meantime, we're out of here. So in the meantime, what we're going to do is we're going to say, be safe, be well, and have a lot of fun, and recover with some mad ritual, of course, because until next week, the shrimp is back in the tank. So long.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond, in the shrimp